Welcome to the No Practice Podcast,
where we cover the only sport in the world where there is no practice. With your mini rod driving host, Adam Kester, Tyler Slaw, and Chase Richardson. Strap in for some debates on the world of pulling, exclusive special guests, and a whole lot of nonsense BS. The No Practice Podcast starts now.
Welcome, everybody. Today is Tuesday, November 26th, and this is the No Practice Podcast coming to you on a special Tuesday night instead of Wednesday. I'm here with my host, as always, Chase Richardson and Tyler Saul. How you guys doing?
I think it's fitting to call this the King of Smoke edition of the No Practice Podcast. I think there's been more of a buzz about a guest this week, Esdon Lehn, the King of Smoke, coming on for a special Tuesday night edition of the No Practice Podcast. Tyler, why did we move this to Tuesday again? I'm still confused why we're here. But yeah, the King of Smoke's here.
Absolutely. The reason we moved this to Tuesday is we figured the broad demographic of our listeners would be entertaining one another tomorrow because it is the biggest bar night of the year. So while those rascals are out drinking tomorrow, they won't be missing our show because we're doing it tonight. So
biggest bar night of the year. Is there data behind that? Or is that your acquisition?
I mean, that's what I've heard.
Assumption on acquisition. Assumption.
Yeah, I did not acquire tomorrow evening, Chase, but
it's a Tuesday. I don't have much time to get amped up this week.
Yeah,
I classified this this time of year as silly season. It seems like after Thanksgiving till the first of the year, it's kind of crazy how things go, and I would say this time of year, whenever the Thanksgiving's coming up, they usually have like a Friendsgiving tomorrow night, right? Is that what you do, Tyler?
I have hosted a Friendsgiving in years past, but I don't have any plans this year to do one. It is actually a lot of work to facilitate that, and my building is kind of a mess right now. So how about you, Adam? Do you do anything special around Thanksgiving?
We used to do some pretty neat stuff with some friends of the family, and we haven't done it the last couple of years, but we have some new traditions maybe that we're starting with some other things. So there's always something in the books. We usually, since my dad passed away, we still do the family stuff, but we also do more of some stuff with some other families too. So it's kind of neat.
Chase, how about you?
On Thursday, I go with my mother's side of the family and do little Thanksgiving exchange, and then Wednesday night I'll probably engage. I've had this circle in my calendar. This is a podcast night last night, but since you're announcing it as National Bar Night, I guess I got to go to a bar somewhere. So I'll go out to the bar Wednesday night, and there's actually a chance Thursday. This is a pretty big thing in Kentucky. My dad always goes out of town on vacation during Thanksgiving, so and takes some friends of his out of the country. So I don't have Thanksgiving with my dad Thursday, but in Kentucky, Churchill Downs, where the Derby's held, obviously I'm sure y'all are aware of that, is a it's a big track day. So trying to work in the plans where I can end up in the track Thursday and bet on some ponies, the metaphor for going to the horse race. So, but outside of that, just take it all in and enjoy the time of the year to be thankful and count the blessings. And I'm blessed to be here with you two tonight.
And we've got RJ Simon checking in saying, Chase, you're actually at home, not on vacation.
Yes, I was at Farley on a vacation for about a week and a half, and planning the big show down there. Who I don't know if you've seen that. I think NTPA put out a list of some names that was previously announced in the No Practice Podcast, by the way, but we'll give them the credit as it sits now. And that event's going to be awesome. And it's I really anticipate a huge buzz carrying on all through the winter months, and was excited to be out there with RJ. Always excited to be with RJ, but it's even more fun to talk about that event and all the badass shit they're doing for it. So RJ, thanks. I'll be back for vacation around Christmas time.
Adam, you been working on any motors? Do you want to give us a little panned side shot and see how many?
Oh, we
you
can
got
try
going
to. It's
there?
kind of a mess right now. I got some stuff going on back here. I got a whole bunch of them over in here. Yeah, really nice, organized shop.
I mean, it looks pretty nice to me.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I had 11 engines show up in two days, so I've been very busy, and that's just the start of it. So, working really hard to try to get most of this stuff up and rolling. But
Very nice.
everybody's off season's my busy season, so
I would imagine.
You had a banquet the other day, Tyler, right? Any news to
Yes.
report out of there? That's been since our last show, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. The banquet was a good time. We got to sit and have our roundtable rules meeting, and no complaints. That class is going along well, and no changes foreseen. So that was exciting.
I'm not going to act like I know anything about it, but I've heard. Is there something going on with 4.1 turbos or something like that that's got like a crisis going on? We probably should have, if we planned on this show and coordinate a little more, we should probably make it a talking point. But what the hell is going on with these 4.1 turbos? Have y'all heard anything? And if someone knows, please comment, because I'm not really sure. I just know it's a crisis. That's probably not the right word for it, but we'll call it.
I'm completely ignorant to that. I wish you would have told me that beforehand, and I would have done some research. But
it sounds like we're just going to do some research for the next show. So
okay,
or we'll count on our amazing fans. Last show reached 22,000 viewers. Shout out to you all on all the platforms. But anyone comment away of any of this 4.1 speculation? I don't know. Maybe we can do some more research for that.
And then we can talk to Esdon about it. And see
maybe he knows. One thing from the banquet that was honestly probably my high point. Anybody that watches this show, maybe you don't notice, but I always wear a light blue hat just because that's happens to be the color hat that they put on my little image of our cheesy little cartoon logo. But what I'm wearing this evening is a 20th or the 20th Enderley hat, which I was lucky enough. Miles and Jeremy Krieger, as everybody knows, their father Butch passed away. And they gifted me with several of his old Enderley hats because I feel like they just know out of anybody who wears Enderley hats, I wear them quite often.
I think what they're trying to say is they don't know anybody else that wears those hats.
Exactly. But so right now on tonight's show, I'm honored to be wearing Butch's old Enderley hat. So
if you're in NTBA, you could qualify your way into that sometime.
Well, then I'd have to get a top 5, and I'm just not that good.
And you'd have to change your brake pedals, right?
Yeah, I'd have to change my brake pedals.
So in your words, what do you call the stuff on the bill? We got some friends around home that call it a little bit something different. What do you call the stuff on the bill?
I feel like that's just like little gold leaves, almost like little feathers.
Yeah, I agree with you. For whatever reason, at home they call them scrambled eggs. So
I can see that. I mean, there's no shame in that. I mean, I think this hat's awesome personally. Because what are you guys at now as far as how many Enderleys?
Oh shit! I just was at the one this year.
It's 50 something,
50,
isn't it?
Yeah.
So 50, the fact that
it's not 50, is it?
I thought
40th?
it was
40th.
Hell, NTPA is not 50 years old.
No, it's not. It's like the 30th. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm thinking Bowling Green. My bad. But I mean,
I have to go over and get my hat.
I
feel terrible for not knowing this. As I sit behind numerous Enderley checks that my dad won. My bad.
I thought it was pretty cool that they gifted me some of Butch's old hats. So
you could drive a Mack truck over the bill of that hat, folding it in half, and it would still be flat by the time you put it
on. We have so coming out of your banquet. No big news. I think the NTPA banquet is actually I know it's next week. We'll be sure to follow up after that show with any updated news. Do they put a schedule out, or are we from the Pro Polling League banquet?
Yeah, we did get a tentative schedule. It's not a lock yet. They just know that everybody's desperate for it, so they did put it out. But some of them don't have the location listed quite yet. So to be determined. They gave us what they know at this time. So
that's good.
So as we said, present day, where will be the next time we can do a hot chip challenge for those you new listeners, I think it might be time to bring it back.
Well,
Maybe
is the truck show happening?
I mean, as far as I know, I mean, I haven't heard anything otherwise.
If the truck show happens, the truck show will be the next time, I believe, that we
Yep.
can do a hot chip challenge.
Got it.
And
Cool.
That we should be qualified for, I would think.
should be absolutely. So without further ado, I think we have a little segment to get into here, which we've.
It's time for Hater Inbox.
The hater
All right,
inbox.
guys.
Are we going to pulloff.com again?
Hater inbox. We don't have any pulloff.com.
Is that site still active? Or do we keep them alive for a year when we talked about them on here?
We're gonna have to get on there and read it some more and see if there's any more hate for us. But we got some. We'll call it hate, but I feel like this guy is an honest listener, observer of the show. You can call us polarizing one way or another, whether he loves us or hates us. He's clearly tuning in. So I'm going to read you guys a comment that was given to us by Mr. John Gullbunny 8652.
Where was this post? This was posted to which, on YouTube comment or Facebook comment? This was after the show, right?
Yeah, I believe this is a YouTube comment.
Okay.
It's a little long-winded, but Chase,
another YouTuber on our hands.
Yeah, as hard as this is going to be here for you, Chase, you're going to have to try not to interrupt me so that I can read this start to finish. You think you can do that?
Sorry, I got the mute button.
Go to the bathroom.
All right. Here's our hater inbox for this week. My weekly show comments. You all claim to be entertainers for the fans, and unanimously the fans want pull-offs, but clearly the pullers don't. I know it's your expense too, so based on that, quit calling yourselves entertainers for our benefit. Once again, a puller, Van, by his own words, proves handicaps don't and won't ever work. Enough said. He does make a huge point in why pulling hasn't grown in the last few decades, and I completely agree, as all three of you did too. Fans and the general potential fan base can only relate to the diesel truck classes. There's very, very few that can relate to a component chassis tractor. There's only been 2 varieties on tractors built with the component likeness, and that was in the 1940s using leftover World War II parts. You mini guys shot yourselves in the foot getting away from 1550 and 1800 pound classes. Yes, they were all big blocks too. Variety was abundant, unlike today. In the 80s and 90s, pulling heyday, there was 40 times the vehicles, more than enough to have Grand National, Region, and State hooks all on the same night in lots within the states of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Missouri, with multiple events in each state within a 100-mile radius of each other. You pullers, and along with Daddy Dave, have been successful in killing the sport you so claim to love. What put butts in the seats, you ask? Kevin Lynn's Notorious, Brian Shramick's Youngblood, Carlton Cope's Warpath. Hoods and blocks that match instead of allowing recast blocks. The cube limits should have been lowered to 540 to allow all manufacturers to be competitive. Like Van said, people can relate to that. The V8 classes should have been stopped at 871 blowers and factory bore center lines. Just imagine if Denny Horst's, now Olds, was still competitive and Chevy-based motors. There would be tons of variety. Hemis aren't boring at all, but when every Mini, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and mod are a Hemi, they become boring. Hell, at BG, there's over 300 giant Hemis entered. That's how you put butts in the seats. And no, Tyler won't read this because it's right. Stay tuned for Show 30's review next week. Wowzers, gentlemen, that is a lot to unpack. Questions, comments, thoughts, ideas. What do you think?
First off, thank you, Johnny Galupio, or what was his name? Galupio?
John Gullbunny, I believe it was.
Gullbunny. In all seriousness, thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. And there's nothing like having a platform where you can call people out on him saying you won't read it off. So kudos to you for reading that off, Tyler. I took some notes on that. First off, he says killing the sport. I don't think the sport's getting killed. I think the pullers' pockets are getting killed. I'm going to guess this guy's not a puller, just from some of the things he was stating. He may be, and please correct me on your next comment take that if he is a puller or not. So I don't know where the sport's getting killed. There's record amount of attendance at a lot of these venues. Competition. There's a lot of classes with stronger numbers than ever. Look at the diesel four-wheel drive class. The unlimited class is as strong as it's been in 25 years. So I'm not really sure you're talking about there. Did y'all catch the handicap? What is he talking about handicaps? I don't understand that.
That I don't really know, but to contribute to your comment about, the sport is not dying, when my dad used to run a mini rod before he switched to the multi-engine tractor, he said one of the reasons he got out of the class is he felt like it was dying. He said that there was just, a small handful of tractors that would go to all the events, and he said, in all honesty, kind of wanted to get rid of his mini rod while he felt it was still worth something.
Sure. And this guy's entitled opinion, but he really lost me when he said it. They should have kept V8s at 871s. I think all credibility he had in my book, he kind of lost it there because there's no anyone that's involved and Adam, I'm sure you want to touch this. Anyone that's involved in V8 supercharged engines that think 871s are a good idea, just try to sell one day on a resale. We can touch on that later. And then lastly, we don't talk about politics on this. We try not to talk about politics on this podcast, but I think it's very clear who this guy voted for a couple of weeks ago. And we'd love to hear his feedback on that. We'll read it out loud, but we won't comment. So thanks again. And I'm just glad you read that off, Tyler. Fire away, Adam.
I'm honestly kind of at a loss for words for comments like that. I would like to see this guy needs to be educated maybe a little bit. Probably when those 1550 mini rod classes were running, I'm pretty sure they were running junk ass Firestone tires that weigh nothing. I don't think a single vehicle could make weight at 1550 without the driver. Now, very rare. You know what I'm saying? Like, holy cow, dude.
Chance. There's no
chance. Not with, I guess if we were all running cast aluminum, well, I don't even know if this would work, but all I got to say is everything in this sport has advanced minus a few minor details, and I don't think it's the puller's fault.
Minus purse money. I mean, honestly, minus the money that pullers probably should be making. Everything else is freaking like astronomically grown, to be honest.
And as far as the entertainment standpoint of that, I mean, okay, I guess we're not entertainers. Then we're just competitors. So I think the competition level is at the highest it's ever been. So maybe we're not entertainers. And we don't like pull-offs because the money. I mean, let's face it. There's no incentive to pull in a pull-off. Yes, it would be the best thing. That would be correct. I think we could make that if we take the top three, do whatever. We've talked about this ad nauseum about pull-offs, non-pull-offs. And let's face it, the money's not there for it.
But at the same time, Adam, I don't really know. This guy's saying they're not for pull-offs. I think some classes it's a standard. They're not for pull-offs, but like I bet if you took a vote in the mini rod class, for example, I would say majority would be for a pull-off if there were.
I agree.
If there was just a little added incentive. So
I guess this guy just wants us to be antique pullers, because if you continue to run the same shit you did all those years ago, that's about the kind of crowd you're going to get.
He seems really innovative, so let's give him a break.
Adam,
I'm just saying, though.
As an engine builder, can you touch on the topic of why 1471s just flat out makes more sense than 871s?
We're talking about superchargers for those that don't know. And Adam, talk about the difference.
Well, they tried it, dude. They tried to run an 871 mini rod class, and there was about 5 of them, because nobody wants an 871. The modified class has to run them, and you're seeing a little bit more of an influx here in the last couple of years, but Take for instance, let's say Simons or whatever 4-engine Brett Berg, any 4-engine tractor that runs 871s, and a guy wants to upgrade blowers. You take those 4 blowers off there. Let's say a new blower, if you rob the most things off of it, the spacer plates, the snouts, and all that stuff, let's say the blowers, new ones are going to cost you $12,000 a piece, right? Do the math on that.
Oh yeah, not cheap.
$48,000 for 4 blowers. The ones you took off of there, you can't give them away.
Yeah,
Like nobody wants them. Like
Well,
so, you're eating money.
because there's no other motorsports that utilizes 871 blowers.
Nope.
1471s is, and I think we probably need to explain this because I think we take it for granted. We pull this class. Adam, you can take this one, but difference in a 14 and an 8, and really, I think it was brought to the table in the sport 25, 30 years ago, probably longer than that, as a way to save money, so to speak. But an 871 costs the same as a 14 brand new,
Sure.
damn near, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, fact of the matter, the rotors are just little bit longer than a 1471. The case is a little bit longer, but it is the most common supercharger throughout throughout racing, really. I mean,
throughout. I was going to say throughout performance motorsports, the 1471, that specific case and rotor length supercharger is what they run most common everywhere, which means
Right.
if Adam gets sick of his blower, he has a really broad demographic of people he can sell that
Right.
to. An 871, sure, you got some guy putting this together or that together, but as far as rule sets, a 1471 is where it's at.
Yeah.
We at one point bought the supercharger that came directly off of Mike Janis's Pro Mod car. He ran it. He won a Wally. Bruce called him up, said, I want that blower that was on your car. And they literally shipped it to us, and we bolted it on Bruce's tractor and ran it because that blower is just, it can be used everywhere. We're an 871 that just doesn't exist, and you've got the light unlimited guys, that are going 1871s, and the unlimited guys doing 1871s. It's cool. It's badass that they can get these manufacturers to build them, but there's just not a huge resale market for that odd and unique supercharger size.
You're married to it. And originally, and I stand corrected, someone please call me out on this, but when these rules were adopted, the 871 was a much, much cheaper route than a 14 for someone wanting to get into it. But now that's surpassed it. And like I said, it's almost a wash. With the only difference is you're married to an 871 when you get it.
But I think the fact of the matter, when you look at the whole thing that he wrote out there, if we were all to stay where we were in 1980, our shit would be boring. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have upgraded. That's why I said everything in pulling. The sleds have gotten better. The tractors have gotten better. The engines have gotten better. The tires have gotten better. Everything has gotten better. If you were just to stay stagnant with that, I don't think there's very much entertainment in that at all anyways. So, I mean, who wants to go to a NASCAR race and watch a bunch of sedans right off the factory race? Or who wants to go to a drag race where you can see a 300-mile dragster, but it doesn't relate to anything, so we're going to watch stock cars drive down the track. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, it's racing. There should not be anything that compares to it.
I would agree. So my comments, I made a little flow chart here, which I think our backstage has. And so as far as us not being entertainers, at the top, for our audio listeners, we've got 4 boxes with arrows dropping down. The first box, have pull-offs equals be more entertaining. Okay, I got that, right? But the second box, undeniably, you're going to break more stuff if you're having pull-offs, which breaking more stuff leads us to our third box in the flow chart, which is have classes with poor numbers / not enough tractors. And what that box leads us to is then be less entertaining. Nobody wants to see a class that doesn't have enough numbers. So we have also got a second flow chart as well that we can look at. So we can have no pull-offs, which equals be less entertaining, which means we're going to break less, which means we're going to have good and better numbers, which means we're going to be more entertaining. Now, obviously, there is exceptions to that, which would be our third flow chart, which we can drop up here. And now,
what do you work at a science lab?
No shit.
No, this is pretty basic. So under the have pull-offs equals be more entertaining, at the third box, instead of have less or have classes with poor numbers and not have enough tractors, there are exceptions, such as doesn't matter, it's Bowling Green and we already have more than enough numbers, which you drop down from that, and that just equals ultimate pulling entertainment, where pull-offs should be mandatory because numbers are plentiful. So I feel like there is exceptions where pull-offs should be used across the board, but it has to be in situations where the numbers are good enough, We've all been to events such as not Bowling Green this past year, but the year before. It was awesome to see Ken Venny run against the Europeans in a pull-off the first day. But what happened then? Ken hurt his motor in the pull-off, and who got to watch Ken run the second day? Not this past year, but the year before at Bowling Green? Nobody did, because he hurt his tractor.
Tell him not to run it on kill every damn time.
Well, Chase, he loves beating our asses. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I do see, the advantages of a pull-off, but I feel like it's not at every pull. And there are also advantages as far as being more entertaining by not having pull-offs. And that's, having good enough numbers to support all these other events, like he was saying, to have all these state and region hooks. If everybody's having pull-offs come the end of the region season, you're probably not going to have quite as strong a numbers. And as far as everything looking the same, and being all cookie cutter and not having any variety, I actually prepared a fourth flow chart for that.
Jesus.
So, at the top, we have, should I build a unique tractor for variety or buy one? Underneath the I'll buy what everyone else has, that leads to you being allowed to run the tractor as long as you want. If you go over to the left column and you decide to build one, that's going to be a massive time and dollar investment, and it's going to look different. And after that, it's either doesn't actually work, haha, loser, which means if it doesn't work, you'll be allowed to run the tractor as long as you want. However, at the off chance, if you build something different and it has an advantage and actually works, they might have to make a rule against it, which then leads you all the way around to just the beginning where you buy what everybody else has, and then you're allowed to run the tractor as long as you want. And I obviously say that somewhat sarcastically, but I mean, I feel like there are people out there that would build more unique tractors, but everybody kind of knows in the back of their head, if they come out with something a little bit different and it actually has that competitive edge, I feel like they're going to be like, nah, you can't run that. And I feel like
speaking of that, though, I mean, look at all three of us here sitting on this page. We're all in the same class, and if it's such a cookie cutter class, we might run similar chassis and all this stuff. None of us run the same engine.
No,
we all run different shit.
It's nothing about cookie cutter between our three tractors, to be quite honest. But I mean,
no,
a lot of that's.
I got more weight than Chase has got.
Do what?
I said I got more weight than you got, brother.
I don't know. You can't see inside my weight box.
You both have more weight than my fat ass. But like, there's an idea I have floating around in my head, and I would love to build a new chassis and implement it and try that. But what I think we should see is a lock in the rules by all major organizations. And I feel like people would be more inclined to think out of the box and come up with something. But
yeah, good luck getting major organizations to work together on rules.
Just lock in the existing rules.
That makes too much sense, though. That's not going to happen. I would love to see it, but it's not.
To take that rule set, and if they lock it in for, say, 5 years, the way it's written right now, not asking for anything to be changed.
Unless it's safety.
I will come out with a new tractor. I don't have enough time to come out with it next year, but I will build another one in the off season that will be unique. But I'm scared that I will come out with it and they'll just be like, nah, you can't run that. And I don't know about the whole safety thing, Chase, because still that rule that they set against our tractors, I feel like enough time has passed. I can talk about that and somebody will be like, maybe he's not just being a total whiny bitch, although I'm sure I'll get plenty of that. I still feel like if the real push was safety, they should have said, Tyler, under no circumstance while you're sitting in your seat strapped in, should your feet be able to touch the ground.
Yeah, but you complaining about the rule change helped us build a huge audience. So I'm kind of glad you brought it back up.
Yeah,
but that would be the safety of it, because I was running side shields that were 120 thousandths thick. Like, there's no way a connecting rod's getting through that. And now I got my feet jammed by the transmission, and we've seen those things spin before. So I guess I
wouldn't even be worried about that. I'd be more or less if you come down sideways and it kinked the frame rail and your legs pinched in between that and the fucking drive line, then I think we got a problem.
Yeah. With how I have to run it right now at certain places.
I'm just saying I'm neutral on this because it don't mean shit to me. I think when you sign the dotted line and
you show up,
you show up on that thing, you're taking full responsibility for who's getting hurt. You know what I mean? So like, I
I
don't
agree
know.
for sure. We've got Bob Barbie commenting in saying, "Oh, come on, Cummins V8s should never been in super stock and BBJD." Somebody want to help me with
Decipher that one. What's BBJD?
Big block
mean?
John Deere.
Oh, I thought it meant something else.
Shouldn't have
A lot of B's.
been,
A lot of
Easy,
B's,
easy,
Chase,
easy,
and D's in
Chase.
one.
You're
have
one
been
letter
in
more
pro
here on this
stock.
one, brother.
So Bob Barbie is saying Cummins V8s should have never been in super stock, and big block John Deere's shouldn't have been in pro stock, but they got built and they're still running.
But here's where my argument will be with this is like, okay, that's fine, but NTPA allowed it, and then
Yep.
whenever they were dominant, they made a rule to kick them out, and then they left, and the numbers sucked in that class. They sucked so bad that they opened the fucking rules back up and said, hey, we can't make enough tractors. We got to let them back in. Then you look like complete idiots.
That is kind of funny. Like the whole, we don't want you, go away, but we need you, so come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was kind of embarrassing. I mean, yes, they should have never let it, but they did. And then they made the mistake of kicking them out, and then the numbers were so bad and they had no tractors, and they're begging for them to come back.
Well, we'd better not touch on that. We'd better not touch on that too hard. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, Adam. So anyway, that's my comments to Mr. John Gullbunny. Hopefully we touched on
Thanks for giving us great content for this show. We look forward to reading your episode 31.
I'm glad
the other moral of this story is that if you ever want to go into a deep dive science project with Tyler, just call him out and say he won't read something, and then he'll bombard the show with his.
I was waiting for like an asterisk that says this is a study done by Princeton University. Blah 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 blah.
Oh, come on! Just some quick flow charts of simple.
I like the flow chart and then the extra lines you added.
Give me a tally for this. Let's face it, we have record viewership right now, not because people want to listen to us.
No, they don't give a shit about us.
They're here for the king of smoke himself. We have not talked enough about smoke. We got to do a drum roll or get some special effects in place. But nonetheless, we have Mr. Esdon Lehn, the king of smoke, one of the most iconic figures in the history of polling, joining us. From what I've been told, there he is. Esdon, can you hear us okay? Esdon, are you on mute?
Tell Jason to fix that shit.
So we sent Jason Schultz out there for a camera with him. I guess he forgot to hit unmute. Esdon, can you say something now?
I can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry our crew had a bad start for you. But Esdon, this has been a interview we've had circled for a long time. We can't thank you enough for coming on the No Practice podcast and speaking to all the fans you have out there about yourself, your history, your endeavors, and most importantly, how you became the king of smoke. So first thing I got to ask, is this the first ever No Practice podcast you've ever watched?
I kind of scanned through a couple, but didn't want to let you know I was there because then I would get in asked too many questions probably.
What was your favorite one you've watched, Esdon? Do you recall?
I've just watched a couple little ones just because I wasn't sure what I would say if I get on here, and now I'm here.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have a lot of fun with you. I know you're in good hands there, but the biggest thing is you just got to make sure. I remember a great memory I'm going to start this with. I was about 11 or 12 years old, Chapel Hill, Tennessee. I think the year was probably 1998. It was at the time the diesel super stocks were kind of like stepping away from the alcohol supers before the diesel super stock class was formed. And I was at Chapel Hill with my father, and these diesel guys were there. And I remember this guy was over there, like parked a few trailers down. He had this big cooler, like, you go in the gas station, like when they have them on ice, you grab them out of there, like a little tote cooler. It was filled with red juice. And it was the first time my dad was walking over there being social, and this guy comes out of the trailer, and it's like the smoke entrance, everyone comes out. It's the king of smoke, and he said it's like a Godfather moment. He's like, "How are you going, man?" "I'm good." And he has this huge crescent wrench, and he's stirring this drink. And he gives me a cup. He's like, "Here, have a drink." And I'm 12 years old, and I drink it. What was the name of that drink that you mixed up with that?
Smoker's Punch.
Smoker's Punch. Well, this is a time the smokers were getting united. I took a Smoker's Punch at age 12, and I've not been the same since. And then I've been a diehard King of Smoke fan. So that was the intro for me to you, as in the Smoker's Punch. When was the last time the Smoker's Punch was out at a tractor pull, by the way?
Oh, 20-some years ago.
So I think we might need to bring it back this summer.
It'd be a good championship roll. I know that.
What all is in the Smoker's Punch?
Lots of depends on if you want, like me and Brett used to build it. It was like either 80 horsepower Smirnoffs or 100. Just depends on who you wanted to treat. 5 Alive, Amaretto, Hawaiian Punch.
Of course.
Very red. Very red. No surprise, it's very red. I think I woke up the next morning, my whole face was red from drinking the Smoker's Punch that night. But anyway, Esdon, thanks for joining us. I know we got a lot of questions, a lot of fans. And fans, as you're watching, feel free to fire away some questions. We will try to integrate them in with Esdon. I know we have a lot of demands, a lot of people watching. But nonetheless, Esdon, thanks for joining us. I know Tyler and Adam can fire away with a few questions. And at any point, there's a question you do not want to answer.
Shut the hell up.
There's a button called the Adam button. You can just hit the Adam button. We'll pass it on to the next one. So,
Okay.
Tyler, I'll let you take it from here, Tyler.
Well, Esdon, we've got a Adam chiming in saying, have Esdon explained the sewer pump system. Is that a backstory, or what's the story behind that?
Well, it really wasn't a sewer pump, but when I built a lot of these 4 turbo things, we always call it the sewer pipe because it looked like a big sewer pipe going up to our top turbos when we ran 4 turbos. So we always call it the sewer pipe.
Very nice. Very nice. So you do a lot of the manufacturing yourself on your tractor. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically everything but, building pistons and rods and all that. I do my own chassis and everything.
Very nice. So obviously that takes a mechanically inclined individual. Where did you get your roots, learning and acquiring the knowledge to take on tasks like that?
A lot of it was I used to started pulling a 1466 on the farm, and I would take it out, and they never told me you can have duals or singles or whatever. And I brought a 1466 and had new deep thread Firestones on it, dualed up, and pulled a 12,000 pound class with it, and did a year of that. And then I started the second year, and it was like, oh, you can't come back. As soon as I would say Esdon, well, they knew exactly who I was. Because
you did too well. They didn't want you around.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it was like I can't help it. I figured out how to get a big old 14 into 12, and everybody else had single tires on.
Did you do all sorts of clever tricks like my dad used to antique pull, and he used to build stuff out of aluminum, and then he would take primer and handfuls of sand, and he would spray paint the aluminum while throwing handfuls of sand and even like iron dust at it, and it would make the aluminum look like cast iron. And even if they took like a magnet to it, because there was like iron grinding dust on it, it would draw a magnet. And everybody was just baffled at how it would make weight.
Everybody's told me about that trick and everything, but all the light 7,500 pound tractors I built, I've never really did that because it was too much work getting it done without even doing that.
Sure. So now that you're, no longer running a tractor like that, what was the cleverest little thing you came up with back in the day that you're comfortable sharing now because you're no longer taking advantage of that? I know there's a million things rolling through your head, but there's got to be one you can share.
One clever one? God, it was,
because I know there's all sorts of rules in the antique tractor community where they try to run people off that's being too dominant. Did you have any sneakies?
Are there any Esdon Lehn rules out there?
Not really, because it was always such a big accomplishment. Like to get in the 7,500 pound class, it was a few neighbors said you can't ever get a big red tractor in the 7,500 pound class. And it was just trying to get that accomplished. I never really did anything clever.
You never did anything clever?
Well, I did, but one time I was probably at Indy. We just put hollow axles in.
Okay.
And I had my buddy George Weppel with Atlas Tractor. He said, we can't make splines, but he said, we'll cut off an axle, and we'll marry it into a chromoly tubing and weld it on, and we'll put that on the tractor. And then the next year it was twisting, and I go, oh, I better get it reheat treated. And I did it, and come to Indy, and as soon as I revved it up, it broke the weld because it got crystallized. And everybody says, oh, we can help you put an axle in. I go, no, I'm too tired. But nobody knew I had hollow axles with a welded spline on.
They all wanted you to give you a hand tearing it apart, and you're like, nah, we'll just go put it in the trailer.
It was the grocery cart would have been opened up.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
The grocery cart.
So can my power just went out, but Esdon, I was just wondering, can you maybe just tell us how this all started? Where did the pulling bug catch? Where did you get going with all of this?
Well, a lot of it was I bought had my 14 with duals on and everything, and pulled the 12,000 out of field. And then afterwards, they wouldn't let me run. So in 76, I went in to watch the Farm Fest pull in Lake Crystal. And all the big guys were there, 40, 50 tractors in a class back when everybody had a tractor that you could pull with. And I seen a tractor pull there. And so I bought a 560 from Sherman Smith back in April. And boy, I didn't know much about pulling at the time. And I go, Dad, I need something a little better. So I conned my dad into getting me enough money to go buy D&D Farms tractor, 966. That one Farm Fest was in the puller. And then that's when all the promoters that didn't like me, when I had my other tractor, they decided that was the best thing since sliced bread. I thought, wow, where'd you come from? It was because they kicked me out. And
suddenly they wanted you back.
I'm going to go a place where I don't have to be worrying about what I bring to the show.
Absolutely.
So explain that a little more. So whenever you made that purchase, it put you in another world where you could just kind of like feel like go pull and not worry about rules and people changing rules. Is that what you're saying?
Totally.
And so when you made the purchase, what was the first organization like, or I don't know enough background on that part of the country. Like where did you take it to pull, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, I could have, when I bought the thing, it was D&D Farms was right by Danny Dean and everything. And those guys wanted to bring me to Fort Recovery in 77 of July, their second, I think it was their first hook. And I was so scared to go there that I just wanted to get home because I just had my baby. and it just happened to buy a good tractor, and I ran her 41 times in 77. Couldn't beat nobody, but it just stayed together. The 41st time I twisted the input shaft off.
The 41st time?
41st time I ran it. So that really helped me learn, like go to school and no breakage, just had to maintain it. And when I come home with it, it took me an hour to figure out that you had a safety switch and you had it on the park brake on International. You had to put that down to hit the safety switch. I stepped in the clutch, did this, everything. And I couldn't, finally I put this deal in and I started it up and I finally unloaded everything. And there was a pull in Waseca, Minnesota. And I loaded it back up, end up getting second the first time I ran it. And all I said to myself was, boy, I wish I had a torque in my tractor because I would have won it. Because I killed it in the 12,000 pound class. So I was like, God, wow, I couldn't believe that second place at the first time when Bill Berg was there with his tractor, John Tennis, all the Minnesota guys, Iowa guys. It was like, wow, I couldn't believe it.
That's awesome. Did you ever think back then that you would be labeled the king of smoke of the major organizations?
Not one bit, but I've always tried to put on a good show. And, then it ended up being, all people said, I want to run my tractor there. And I says, well, bring it up. I have room on my trailer. Let's go. Guy from California, Tom Dompey. And that's how the twin tractors came up. And then I ended up with, the old joker from Mr. Weaver, that Paul Coons had. And we were sitting there building him a tractor and everything. And I said, hey, the Joker needs friends. So I said, we'll have the King. And then the other tractor I was running, Tom Dompey, said, we'll call that Queenie. And that's how it started. And then one thing led to another. When Queenie and the King were doing good, then they just nicknamed me King of Smoke.
I love it. I love it. So you say that you've built several chassis. Just how many chassis over all these years have you personally built?
Wow, I don't know, 20, 30.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Do you kind of know roughly where they all went, and do you kind of keep tabs on your recent ones and know where they're at, or?
Well, they're all no really recent. It's been 15 years ago was probably the last really, any wild tractor other than my own stuff.
Sure. Was there ever a time when you got rid of one and you thought this new chassis was going to be better, and you get the new tractor and you're struggling with it and you're like, shit, I just want my old stuff back?
Nope. I can say
Always.
He's the only guy in history to do this.
Yeah, right. I feel like everybody in pulling, I feel like when you ask them that, they're like, there was a half season period where I'm like, just give me my old stuff back that I understood how to use.
No, it's been I always worked on so many people and built a lot of parts. Well, where'd you get that stuff? I built it. Well, can you build it for me? And it just had so many pieces out at the time that I knew what to do, and half the time it was just trying to find more front end weight like a mini rod.
Absolutely. At what point did you make that transition from, working on your own stuff and making your own stuff to realizing like, wow, I can work on a lot of other people's stuff as well?
I mean, I did that all my life. Anything way back in the 90s, I built stuff. And I got Mr. Profab to build his first twin counter shaft tranny because I figured he had way too many. He wasn't going to build any more four-wheel drive transfer cases and stuff. He needed to have a new venture back in the mid-90s there. And
he was bored.
Now look at him. He's got more transmissions out there than Carter's got pills.
So the twin counter shaft that most of us mini rod guys run in our tractors today, you're taking credit for some of that. Is that right?
Well, no, I'm not taking really no credit. I just was helping the people that were building it because I didn't have the parts to build it.
Okay. I wanted you to take
you
credit.
help me and I'll help you build it for me.
And we got Larry to build a mini rod transmission for us. So he built us a twin countershaft mini rod transmission in 2016. Actually, it was a single countershaft at that point in time. And, it's advanced to a twin countershaft now. Esdon, I got a question for you because I found this to be very interesting. One year I was at Toma, and we were parked on the other side what we park now, and I'm standing there, and this man walks up to me, and we're talking about stuff, I was talking to somebody about stuff, and this guy was kind of standing there, and he walks up and he says, what if I told you that everybody who's ever built a 1471 has done it wrong? And I kind of like turn my head and look at him. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, what if I'm telling you for the past 25, 30 years, whoever's been building those superchargers have been doing it wrong. Would you be interested in doing something different? I said, well, supercharger's always the name of the game. Of course, I'm always interested. I said, what is your name? He says, George Weplow.
George Weplow.
And I go, oh. And so I'm kind of like, at that time, I'm still young. I'm probably 18, 19 years old. I'm kind of scratching my head. I don't know who this guy is. And, I help Esdon Lehn out a lot. And, it was really funny. George has been gone for a few years now, right?
Yeah.
By the time it all made sense to me, and I was wanting to actually get back in touch with this guy. He had already passed away by then, but can you kind of explain to people the type of person and the mind that George Weplow was?
And Adam, if you want to give a background of who he is specifically, or Esdon, the one, just so
that's what I'm saying. I want Esdon to explain this man because I did not know him all that well. Now I know he did a few things in the class over the years. I've heard stuff, but could Esdon explain what type of man and mind that was George Weplow?
Yeah, I met him back in 1978, was trying to get my 966 down in the 7,500 pound class. And I was looking for a guy to build aluminum rims. And Dressel was, but that's how I started, was aluminum rims. And he says, we don't need to build aluminum rims. We just got a lot of other things we can build. We don't need aluminum rims. And that's how I ended up meeting him. So I always went over every time I had the cows milked and the cows fed, I'd go over to his place. Like that was my Votech, go there, and whatever he was working on, I helped him. And George come up with, we were going to build a V8 60, the DV 549 International with twin superchargers on the side and a light super back in 78, 79, Bill Berg and me. But George, he's always was ahead of the game. He always wanted to do stuff that, he could get her.
What happened?
He could get everything going, but we just never had time to finish it all.
Right.
And he was the guy that made me who I am on how to work and how to understand things and just make things.
Thinking outside the box.
Oh yeah. And the more people told him it couldn't be done, the better off we ended up being. And that's how I ended up, trying to build a light super back in 2010.
Yeah. I kind of get, because I kind of looked at it as a very odd interaction, but then I started thinking about it and I'm going, that's how innovation works for people just looking outside of stuff. I'm like, I should have hit him up right there for it. Like, yeah, what do you got in mind? Of course, I ain't gonna lie. He did want a decent amount of money to start, and I had no idea what this guy was gonna come up with. But it would have still been really neat to kind of see what his mind would come up.
Yeah, he was almost ahead of the game before it came out. Because
sure,
nobody was, and now his son Carl, one of my best friends, he's got Atlas tractor and building stuff faster than people want it.
Sure.
People always want stuff, and then he's got so many people helping him, and I always try to bring things to him. But Atlas tractor is why I'm here, is because of his dad.
Gotcha.
So did this mythical 1471 supercharger ever get built?
That's what I'm saying. By the time I actually wanted to connect with the guy, when he came up and approached me at Toma, it was just a few years later. I think he passed away.
Yeah, he got cancer and didn't never get his thing done. But he built cars for Warren Johnson, and he built Warren Johnson his first big block pro stock car back in the day. And
anybody doesn't know, Warren Johnson is the professor, probably king of most pro stock drag racing.
And he built a car and brought it out there, and ended up they had to add weight to it because it was too light with a big block in it. So they had to put their lead weight in the trunk. Well, the trunk wasn't strong enough to hold the lead weight. They had to put it in to make the weight class. That was weird. It was, but
so what you're saying is like he was really instrumental when you guys started doing when you guys came out with the light super stock there, and run the diesel on the light super stock. He was pretty instrumental in coming up with lightweight parts for that tractor.
Well, back then, by then he wasn't really doing a whole lot.
Okay, gotcha.
Was, not as good and stuff, but everything I learned from him is how we ended up. And, everybody kept telling me there ain't no way you're going to do it. And I go, oh, the challenge has been met.
Hell yeah.
I'm taking it you're one of these guys, and I'm not going to assume, but are you the type of person that if someone tells you it can't be done, that makes you want to do it more?
That's probably why I've lasted this long, in a roundabout way. It's been the last 15 years has been a struggle, but I don't know what else I'd do if I can't do this.
So what's the latest thing that in your brain currently, that little back voice you hear that says this can't be done, or I'm going to show you? What's that current thing other than just trying to win a poll? Is it something a project you're working on, or anything?
Trying to bring the 460 back out in the light super, just make that class a little interesting, and have a little smoke in that class, because, my world, black smoke matters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So on the topic of, mixing diesel with the alcohol tractors, I mean, this is kind of an inevitable question. How do you feel about the whole duel of the fuels talk, and running against alcohol tractors and things like that? Give us your whole spiel on it.
I'd like to see same cubic inch, if we're 540, they should be 540. Then I think it would be a place to, let's go. It's kind of like where I shouldn't really be pulling diesel super into light super, but we're all 504, 505.
Sure.
And I think it's a good match, I think. And most of the time back in the day, it always been, they were 100 cubic inches or better, bigger than we were, back when heyday, I was 436 and everybody got mad at me. Well, you need to step up to the plate and build a bigger motor. But, I was, 06, I had my last 436 when I blew it on the ground, or tried to blow it on the ground in Bowling Green there. And then I put my 504 together, and it took me 2 years to figure out how to make that thing work.
So what is the cubic inch difference in between the alcohol and the diesel tractors?
Well, 540 to 650, is
a pretty big difference.
It's 100 cubes, between everything.
So why would they even have that? Why would they even have it like that?
Well, it was always, back in the day, it was, you needed more cubic inches to make the alcohol tractors run competitively.
Or so they said.
Yeah.
So given that, things have changed, technology's changed, and there's times that both classes could use some numbers. Do you think with a cubic inch even playing field, that would bring parity to that duel of the fuels?
That's what I'm going to try to do with the light super, just to use it for instance.
Sure.
I mean, biggest thing is in the light super, to get enough front end weight, it's like driving a mini rod,
which you have done.
Until you can put your do a Bergman and put your seat right on the front,
Have you considered wrapping your legs around the engine for as long as they'll let you?
Well, no, because it would be too hard to work on.
Yeah,
I have a dash there.
Yeah, I can see
You
that.
got to still make it look like a real tractor.
Yeah, they probably won't let you get away with it for very long either, would they?
I've thought of a lot of things, and one was sitting on the fuel tank, but
I think you should do it.
As in, so inform us, because maybe I'm living under a rock in the Superstock world, but are you you're working on a light Superstock project where you're going to run light Superstock?
Yeah, I'm going to run the 460 that I built in 2010, and I'm going to bring that back out and try to run the light super class with it.
Is this something you're going to campaign starting next summer? Is that kind of the plan?
Yeah, me and Mark Almer, we were going to get it all out 2 years ago, but we just never got everything done to get it out. And he's going to bring one out too to pull light super, like the boy in Tennessee is doing it.
This is breaking news to the pulling community, because I think Esdon Lehn and the light Superstocks is something that people probably don't know, and could add a whole twist to that class category. So the chassis and the rolling component of what you came out with, a decade plus ago, you're bringing back out essentially.
Yeah, and built a different chassis for it, and I ran an 8,000 pound class, and won. The last year I ran 8,000, I won Chapel Hill with it. So it should be a good enough chassis. I mean,
I would say so.
Are you going to run Mitas tires on it? Firestone? What's your plan?
HPs.
Yeah. We talked about the deep
Firestone guy.
Alcohol. Go ahead, Esdon. Sorry.
I'm still a Firestone guy.
Understood. We talked about the diesel versus alcohol debate. We've had some other super stock competitors on here, and others have talked about, their opinions on it. But I don't think any of them has ever lived through the era of when alcohol super stocks were born and lived. And I alluded with my intro story with the diesel juice, or whatever it's called, whenever you all are at Chapel Hill.
Smoker's Punch, Chase.
What is it?
Jeez, you listen?
Smoker's Punch.
Smoker's Punch. I'm sorry, I can't remember anything. But
You're
we,
young.
yeah, that's scary. Can you take us through what it was like? Super stocks, obviously, everything's the concept of a super stock tractor was a tractor off the farm. It's blowing smoke, and then there were some pioneers who decided to build alcohol tractors. Can you take us through when that happened and kind of the Esdon Lehn version of they came in, they let them do this, and then we got to a point where we divide the classes, or just your entire opinion on how alcohol tractors came about?
Well, the class used to be 650 cubes for diesel and alcohol, but back, I don't know, 20, 15, 18 years, 20 years ago, I said, we don't need 650 4 turbo. Back then it was 4 turbo, but 3 turbos are just as good or better than 4 turbos, but we don't need 650 cubic inch time bombs, I said, and that's why we got the diesel supers down to 540 back when we were separated. So that's how that all started. And
so, like in the 90s, though, is when the alcohol, like whenever the class divided, was in the 90s, right?
98.
So can you? I was meaning more. I didn't probably ask it the proper way. Take us through like what happened
As they're introducing the alcohol tractor into the class. Like what did that go through? Like in your mind?
Well, they pulled alcohols in the super stock class ever since I started in 77.
Okay.
There was always an alcohol tractor there.
I didn't realize that.
And, back in the Connor days, my buddy Brian Connor, brought Bad Medicine out. He's the one that made us diesel guys better, because you couldn't beat that poor tractor. I mean, it was ahead of its game back in the day. And, it was just a 3208, and then it got to where, the poor blocks weren't tough enough anymore for them to run, that 640, 650 cubes, and I've always been a smaller cubic inch guy, because I always say I can't afford to run the big stroker motors. I'll run the little stroker.
Yeah,
motor.
but you like a lot of boost, right?
Well, not a ton. I've tried to talk myself and not to go to the moon.
Okay.
Now tell us about the moon.
I just want to stay here on the land and pull tractors and survive, because I got money to pull, but I don't got the money to waste, so I got to be conservative.
That's fair. But tell us about the moon as a man who has accidentally tiptoed that line and gone to the moon as far as regarding boost. You've got turbochargers feeding turbochargers. Like what is, do you think, the maximum amount of boost that you've put into that engine behind you?
I try to stay, give or take, 300.
Very modest. Yes, absolutely.
And, a lot of people are give or take 400, but
damn,
it's sure hard on the basement, as I call it. If you don't, and I said back in the day, I said, it's hard to, you can build a big mansion on a log cabin foundation, but pretty soon the log cabin foundation might break, then you got
I like that. Words to live by.
Yeah.
So did that have a lot to running a 436? Maybe there's a little bit more meat in the blocks. The sleeves are a little bit thicker, allowed you to kind of have a little bit more durability with the little bit smaller engine.
Yeah, back in the day it was 436, and you could run before the aftermarket blocks came out. That's the only way I could keep them together. Everybody was running 540s or 504s, and it was just blocks. You just couldn't do it, on my 436. I don't know. It'd be curious to see what it would do, where it would end up today with all the bigger cubic inch motors,
right? To
see if that, would, but we gotta, the turbochargers have come so far. I used to have, 12, 15 turbos in the trailer when I had, air research turbos and 2 tractors and everything. And now Jim Weimer, he's gave me turbos and I don't even have a spare.
No kidding.
Unless I drop valve train or something, they're just so much better than they ever were where you had a out of the box turbo.
Gotcha.
No,
go ahead, Tyler.
I was just going to ask, like, obviously there's trade secrets, but everybody talks about, how far turbochargers have come. Like, without pulling back the curtain too much, what are they changing about these turbos that makes them so much better than what they were 20 years ago?
They have better shafts in them. They put a lot of these, ball bearings in instead of the thrust bearings. They make a better center section for them. The bottom turbo is the, hardest turbo to keep alive on our tractors. And it's just the way they put it together. And, they made some, good billet wheels and good covers that wouldn't spring out. Back in the day, you couldn't tie them together. The dang intake cover would always bulge out, and there was times I ran and mine was, 200 thousandths away from the intake wheel, but I just couldn't keep it there, but it was running good. And that means it was too small a intake wheel. It ran
God,
good, but it was
unbelievable.
Okay. Yeah. It's amazing what I learned.
It's impressive. So when you talk, 300 pounds of intake boost pressure, obviously you got your piston going all the way to the bottom of the cylinder and it's filled with 300 pounds of boost. The valves are sealing off. What kind of actual cylinder pressure at peak are we getting when that thing's coming around to top dead center? Do you have any idea?
I'm thinking 6,000-7,000 off the top of my head.
So when people say that these are literally a series of bombs working in unison, think about 6,000 to 7,000 pounds on every square inch of the inside of that cylinder and on that piston. Unbelievable. Those are unfathomable numbers, really.
Yeah, that's what some guys that used to be in the war and everything, and they go, I just can't believe you guys ride a time bomb like you are. And that's what diesels are, is kind of, because, I always said we need an ignition system on a diesel just to help it burn before it comes all off on compression.
Right.
Yeah. But I was, how do you time all that stuff?
Yeah. I've been asking these diesel guys, and I don't know if it's a sore subject of not wanting to bury manufacturers, I guess, is kind of where, but ultimately in your mind, what is the weakest link of the diesel engine? Because they're not really reliable, according to some. So what do you feel is
just
the most
trying to keep bearings in it right now? It'd be my big, bottom ends and connecting rods and rod bearings and just keep the pressure down so you can make, laps.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've seen some guys take their oil pan off and they literally have the main caps drilled and tapped with like a 10 AN line, running right off an oil pump, and they're just pressure feeding oil as much as they possibly can in the main caps. Are you that intense? Like, you got all that going on, or is kind of the block still doing what it's supposed to be doing?
The block's doing what it's going, and I run, a little over 200 pounds and just oil through the thing and put, not just oil from the end of the block. I try to put oil in and both ends in the middle now, and it seems to help a lot. I had some freak things happen last year that it really, it was running good, but I just couldn't make it back for the second day.
Right.
So is that a situation where, you pull your filter off and you check it out and you see some debris in there, and that's what's keeping you from making that second day? Or what's the telltale signs?
Yeah, it's just the filter, like I had a crankshaft in and I go, oh, this crank should make it all year. Well, it ended up cracking, and then I rolled bearings in at Mike Beck's right after Napoleon and went to Bowling Green, and I go, oh man, if I was 20 years younger, I would have probably rolled another set in. But when I took the crank out, it was cracked like 1.5 inches around in both number 4 main. And the guy says, we don't even have to magnaflux this. He was sitting out in the sun, and he says, it's right there. It's your problem. And it's like, wow.
So if you're hard enough on stuff, you can save money on magnafluxing, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And if it gets too bad, you just roll it out in the sun. Back in my early years, I ran a stock crank back in the 80s, And I knew I didn't need, I should have put a new crank in, but I couldn't really afford it. And I didn't have time because we had to go pulling all the time. And the crank made it all year. And I wiped it all down, took a hammer and hit it, and oil squirted out of all the cracks. And I go, we don't even have to Magnaflux it. But I don't know how the thing made it. But back in the day, we just weren't making the power we're making.
Gotcha.
Esdon,
Go ahead, Jay. Sorry about that.
No. So we have record viewership at this point. That's a compliment to you, and we thank you again for coming on our podcast. Ton of questions fans are asking. There's a lot of technicalities we're talking through right now, but there are people out there that have requested other questions we asked you that are probably a little more entertainment. So we're going to take a pivot right here, and I guess there's no secrets any of us have anymore. Esdon, have a special request in from a fan of yours. Have you ever picked anyone up from a toll booth, or have you ever left anyone at a rest area? Can you allude to that?
We've did both.
Tell me more.
Let's just leave it at that.
So nothing we can talk of, or
It was my crew chief I left at the rest area. But
do what?
my crew chief, Joel Berkshire. I says, everybody aboard? And 100 miles later, he had his cell phone back up in the truck yet, and nobody was answering it. And finally he answered, and here he was sitting 100 miles away from us.
You left your crew chief at a rest area.
Yeah. And I didn't know he got out because most of the time he didn't, and I said, I hollered back, everybody all aboard, and they said yes, and away we went.
Oh, see, that's really more on everyone else than you then. They should have checked.
Then I got a little upset. I said, this is going to cost us a championship. Good thing we're just going home.
Did you turn around and go get them? That's the other question.
What's that?
Did you go back and get them, or did you just tell them?
Yeah, I took a nap by Toma Quick Trip there now, and they had to run back by Madison rest area to pick them up.
What was the greeting like when he saw you?
It was okay. It was just one of those mistakes you do.
Yeah, cool. Good to know. What kind of picture are we looking at here? Can you see the picture, Esdon?
That would be back I'm gonna say 82 or 3. When I built 81 is when I built the 1486.
What year did fire pants become mandatory? Because those are blue jeans and a t-shirt and a helmet. I mean, that's awesome.
I think this was 82. Oh, I forgot. I drove the old John D. Thompson tractor. I forgot about that. I drove this tractor many times.
Is that Redline Fever? Are we looking at there, or someone else?
No, this is John D. Thompson with Bulldog, I think he called it.
Yep,
the guy's name was John D, and he didn't even have a John Deere.
Thompson.
He still ran an international. That's dedication with a name like
and
John
he let me drive it because he didn't like to drive the 9,500 pound class. And then I was at Fort Recovery with it one time, and he always pulled ahead back in the day with stock shifting and everything in low range. And I guess I was just too nervous. I didn't shove it into high, and luckily I only went about 25 feet. And I go, you so-and-so put it in high range, and away we went. But
we have some more photos we'll pop up on you and have you explain. No tow booth photos. Luckily there may not be cameras on site, or he didn't have his camera on.
Back then there was no cameras because there was rotary phone was still available.
Was that a better time to be alive?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I got one for you, Esdon. Can you kind of maybe if you have a time and place in your mind when this happened, like your biggest thrash to make a pull or to win a championship or whatever, staying up all night, working on it in the trailer, getting it running in the trailer. I mean, do you have a biggest thrash that you've done over the years?
Probably the biggest one would be when Johnny Young came and said, you're going to come to my shop. He had a shop to die for. And that's when I blew my motor apart, leading the points at Bowling Green in 03, I think it was. And I had my motor, I was supposed to run all year in it, all year in it. And this is the picture, if you can see it, of the tractor blowing up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't
Tires
look
are
good.
going around and motors coming out of the hood. And all we had to do is get back to the pole the next day and at least bump the sled. So we went out to Johnny Young's and because I had the whole motor, I would have never won a championship that year because I went to a bigger cylinder head, bigger pistons and everything, and all my turbos weren't corresponding to the motor combination itself. It took me 2 years to figure that out. And probably the dumbest thing I did that day, tired, no sleep. I go, oh, we got the new big motor in here. Let's just shift her up a gear. We can have her. And I was like, boy, if I'd have shifted down a gear, I'd have been in better shape. But that was between big motors and little motors and the same girlfriends on top.
Yeah. And by girlfriends, he means turbos, everybody.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you pick it up at the toll booth?
That's where I learned it.
Yeah.
I've been asked about toll booths, but feel free. You don't have to indulge. Esdon, we have a lot of fans interacting, and I've seen a couple pop up regarding green tractors. Have you ever driven a green tractor?
Yes, I have.
How did that go for you?
It went pretty good. It was at Ridgeland, Wisconsin. Tom Gillis, the Deer Destroyer. I brought a set of tires for him to try because I had a set sitting here that were better than what he had. Well, then right away he said, you might as well just drive it. So I drove it. I can't even remember how we did, but it was a good ride.
It was a good ride.
I built a lot of parts on his tractor, so I probably knew more about it than they did.
What would it take for you to campaign a green tractor full time, Esdon? And how loyal are you to Red?
Oh, back in my dating and marriage days, I just about did one. And
A green one?
a green one. Me and Robbie Lemke back in the day, I always said when he gets 40 and I get 60, we're going to build a John Deere tractor together, because I just couldn't believe a John Deere couldn't run, a super stock deal. Well, Then my buddy Roger Peterson came up, and that's where the John Deere is right now, is what Roger Peterson's running, is the tractor that me and Rob Lemke were going to build.
And then one of our friends, fellow mini rod guys, building a green super stock in Iowa, Adam Bauer. Do you know any information on that project? Or
Yeah, it's a KS motor, kind of what Colin and Jody run, and it's going to have green sheet metal on, and CJ's building a chassis for it, and it's going to be a nice thing for the super stock class.
Does he have any idea what he's getting into?
Well, I think so, because Jackson, told Grandpa, Mr. Vaughn, that he wanted a diesel super, so he's going to, be ready to run it back in 2 years from now. And I think that's why. And Jackson is a pretty good kid.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Adam will have her just figured out about that, I would say.
I would think so, or sooner.
Oh, yeah. He'll get that thing dialed in, no question. We're all looking forward to seeing that thing come out for sure.
Yeah.
We had a comment here by Jeff Dalamir. Tell my old buddy Esdon, Jeff said hi. Ask him about 3 cases of Houndstein beer for $10.
Oh, back in the day, when I started drinking, it was like you could buy 3 cases of Hollenstein beer for $3.25.
Damn it.
And then a year later, it went
who
up
was
to
the president then?
$5.25.
Who was the president then?
Yeah, and I said, God, it goes to $5.25. I'm gonna have to quit. I just can't afford $5.25 for 3 cases of beer. Oh, that way back in the early 70s.
That's wild.
It sounds like some paint stripper or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that
That's
was probably
pretty rough
really good
shit.
tasting stuff, wasn't it?
I don't know if I could handle it today, but back then it worked good.
Whenever we get this jungle juice stuff,
Smoke.
Jungle juice, smoking punch.
smoke punch. We'll bring in some Holstein beer for celebratory reasons. When you win a light super stock championship,
Or if I even won a pole, maybe. They might not even let me win a pole, let alone a championship.
Well, don't give yourself some credit now. We have a ton of other questions. So
go for it, Chase.
So I have a question. Aaron and Anhalt, please forgive me if I mispronounce it. This is a good question. We're going to shout out to Esdon. What single innovation in the diesel superstock class has made the most difference since you started pulling?
Wow.
That's a sign of a good question.
It's probably get enough front end weight like a mini rod. It's all about front end.
There's all this horsepower available nowadays, but still, when it comes down to innovation, just getting ballast correct, getting weight on the front almost outshines everything else to you. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Oh, totally. Because I know back when I started pulling the 460 and 8,000, and me and Colin and I think Mike Beck were in the pull off at Hutchinson, and they come up to me and he go, "You dog, you got weight to put up," and they're all lowering their drawbars. And I had another 150 pounds to put up front.
So on the topic of lowering drawbars, you're probably aware of a little situation at Bowling Green, yes?
Yes. I never thought that you couldn't. I always thought you could lower it, but not raise it.
So you have lowered your drawbar before pulling?
I've lowered it one time in Twin Creeks when I had a cast iron tractor. Maybe a 1/4 inch, but that's all the time I've ever lowered my drawbar.
Yes. So you're a big full drawbar man. Then is that correct?
I've always been. This is a new adventure. When I bring this other one out, it's going to be I'm not very good. I'm going to have to talk to you guys on how to adjust drawbar.
No.
Don't ask Tyler because he doesn't know.
Put that son of a bitch all the way up and either kick their ass or roll the sumbitch over. There's no in between.
Our introduction has a tractor flipping over, and me and Adam are not on it.
Esdon, we've got Colin Ross saying that you are his childhood hero, and it's an honor to compete with you still today. And he wants you to explain why you think 4 turbos are better than 3.
Well, it's basically that's all I know. And the 3 Chargers just kind of seem violent to me, and I just know what I'm doing with 4, and I'd rather be out there pulling than try to invent a new wheel.
Gotcha. We got another question that keeps popping up here on the bottom, and I think I know what it is. But how do you feel about maybe people in the sport? Ask Esdon how many that he knows. Basically, how do you feel if somebody names their kid after you?
Kind of pretty awesome because knock on wood, my grandpa, my mom's dad, was named Esdon Brash. And back then I wasn't smart enough to ask him how he got his name. And I was the only one that ever had Esdon. And it was good that somebody's actually keeping Esdon around. It's a German name, as far as I know, because I'm pretty much German. But it was back when I had cancer and stuff, nobody could say Esdon, and nobody thought I was 60 years old, 8 years ago. So I was the last one they ever came to when I was in a room waiting to go get an x-ray or something, because there ain't no way. Esdon, how do you say that? And they thought I wasn't 60, but it was the way it was just kind of fun in a way. But when you're in the hospital all the time, you got to make it look, you got to make fun of it, because what else do you do?
That's got to be pretty flattering. I mean, obviously, Esdon Lehn is definitely named after you. I mean, I personally don't know any other Esdons myself, so I think it's pretty cool.
I mean, if I had a guess, it'd be over 20 Esdons in the country now.
Mm-hmm.
Have you met all 20 of them?
Nope, but I've met way over half of them.
Are you a father to any of them?
I was going to say that's my next
No, I'm not. Not that I know of.
Jungle
Next
Juice
question.
does crazy things. Jungle Juice does
Yeah.
crazy things.
Didn't have enough jungle juice.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's still around the jungle juice here. What are we doing? Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Esdon, we had another question from a fan. Obviously you're known as a world-renowned puller, and I mean that like you're a huge name, the biggest probably guest we've had in terms of buzz about it
Ever.
as a Hall of Famer. I don't know. Are you in the Hall of Fame yet? If not, you'll be there soon.
No, I haven't quit pulling yet. They don't
Yes.
like to put live people in. Like
Yep.
my stepdaughter Whitney, when she first came with us to the banquets and stuff, well, that's been like, I don't know, 30 some years ago. And she goes, God, I hope Esdon don't get in the Hall of Fame because that means he's not going to be alive. Because everybody that's going to the Hall of Fame ain't alive anymore. So
Yeah,
I'm just
sure
trying not to be there because then she won't think I'm alive anymore.
We'll be there whenever they induct you. It'll be free jungle juice for everyone there. But whenever we
Smokers punch.
Smokers punch for the 15th damn time.
I'm gonna
brother.
write it down. Smokers punch. It's free smokers punch for everyone. But Esdon,
See what we have to deal with.
what do you do? What do you do as a day job? For those who don't know, are you a farmer or what's your?
We still
what's that?
farm 600 acres. Me and my brother Sherman, and Adrian, my other younger brother, used to pull with me and stuff. We're still farming here 600 and try to help out any pullers. I got a tractor in here right now that's just a hot farm tractor. I'm gonna, put some hitch and wheelie bars on them because some people don't like to run wheelie bars, and I finally told them you need them, and change some gear ratios around for them. But I just try to. I haven't been building no state-of-the-art stuff lately because I've been kind of trying to get this 460 back out and try to keep the big one running. It's been a struggle. I got behind when I was sick there, and it's just been a struggle of all the technology that came out here to keep up with everybody. I mean, the turbo the motors are just unbelievable.
As in the hot farm you're speaking of, I'm sure because a lot of people want to keep up with it. Is this something new you're working with?
No, it's just the guy I'm trying to help that pulls hot out of field and trying to keep them from tipping over and stuff and putting some, it needs a better drawbar, big time.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people on Facebook, criticizing the guys that run the classes where the front end's coming up way too high because they don't have wheelie bars on, and they say, it's killing the sport. What are your thoughts on those guys? Are they cowboys or are they idiots?
Well, I just hope if they got wheelie bars, it's not that big a deal, but I don't know. I've just never been a guy to have my front end way up in the air to do good. I've always had I like to drag it on the ground, type deal, but not step on it, type deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's how I've learned pulling was always, don't be out of control. But nowadays with the new tires and everything, I mean, they can get hooked up so good these days, and everybody's running out of front end weight.
Can you maybe tell us about all the vehicles that you've driven since you've been pulling? Obviously, Diesel Super, and you've gotten on some other stuff. Can you maybe explain to us some of those other classes that you've been on?
Yeah, this poor picture you got up here right now, that's when Johnny Ellenbaum was there, and Dickerson, he was pulling in the afternoon, and he broke his front wheel off, but the wheel come off, and Johnny Ellenbaum brought it out there, and the front end came down to Hamburg, New York, broke the wheel off, and I go, the damn Packer just lost his wheel. And I go, shit, that was my wheel. and I just kept her going in the front end in the air, and I sat her back down with the throttle, and the crowd went wild. It was like,
okay, so
after any better script.
So we had to go to that picture right after you're talking about how whenever you've been pulling, you always just have your front end on the ground, never up in the air, but not so much in that picture.
Well, it wasn't up, but I think it was probably ran it too much and had too many laps on it, and it finally broke off. But yeah, I've drove lots of red tractors, Breivic's Imposter. Drove that at Bowling Green back in the day. And he says, I always would try to tell him this is what you need to do and everything. And finally, Dennis Breivik says, well, it sounds like you know how to drive it, drive it. So I drove it and won Bowling Green with it. It's just watching how people do things, you know, back then. And, you know, I was kind of way better at that than I am today. Today, I get a little scared of some things we got to drive because it's like, wow, it's come a long way. Then I drove.
Coming from a guy that we saw pictures of driving a tractor with no roll cage and a pair of blue jeans, you're saying nowadays you're a little scared.
Yeah, but it's like a lot more power. A lot more power. I mean, you know, I even drove a mini rod back in the day.
Yeah.
Today, I don't
Tell us about that.
It'd be like you driving mine and me driving yours. It'd be.
I have to say, I've driven a diesel super stock, and it was interesting. But tell us about the mini rod experience.
Well, Brett Berg needed somebody to help him when I was in Upper Sandusky, New York. So I went out there and drove one of the mini rods. And then right before I was getting on to drive, Ken Vini broke a wheel off the front. And I go, you want me to drive this thing? It was really interesting back then, but it ain't near the power you guys are running today.
So
I think I remember you running that because it was mind blown. I'm like, Esdon Lehn's pulling in the mini rod class. Holy shit!
Yeah. I go, I don't know.
So are you saying you have a perfect mini rod record against Ken Venny?
Well, we won we beat him. I don't know if I even beat him. I can't remember, but I drove off.
Oh, there you go. You got him from that standpoint.
Was it everything that you expected, or more, or less?
Well, I've drove a 3-engine mod back in the day, and so I had an idea, you know.
Gotcha.
Old Barney Klaus with the Barney's Rose back in the 80s. I drove that. He even had Hemis on back then. One of the first guys, you know, Dan Utz had Hemis. He had Hemis, and very few people had Hemis. And he said, you might as well drive it. So I drove it at Elkhorn, Wisconsin. And it was like, wow, it can't be even as loud or vibrating as that thing was, because I didn't put no earplugs on or nothing. It was like, wow, that was a bad mistake.
So in between the diesel super, the multi-engine tractor, the mini rod, what do you think put you back in the seat the most, where your eyes were wide and you were like, wow, this is quite something?
It'd probably be the first time I drove my 966 when I bought it. I said, boy, I was in some fast cars, had even built a van just because the cops, they ain't going to look for a fast van.
Yes, I know this.
Tell us about your fast van.
Yeah, you got to tell us, because Larry Peterson's like, tell us about your van. Tell us about your van.
Well, I had a van that wouldn't even do 80 downhill. And when we were done with it, it did 90 in the quarter.
Holy shit.
You know?
What was it? What'd you do to it?
Just put a different cam, put an XL dual point distributor in it.
Oh.
You know, and headers, and took all the smog. It was a 74 half ton, and took all the smog stuff off, and you know, put a 350 horse vet cam in it, and lot bigger carburetor and manifold on it and everything.
Did you have any stickers on this van?
What's that?
Did you have any stickers on this van?
Oh, that was the other van I had.
Okay.
Multiple vans.
And
what did that sticker say? What did the sticker say?
I bought that from, he was the basketball captain for the basketball team back in school. And I go, he can drive that thing around. I'm going to drive it around in it. It said in the back in big letters, don't laugh. And then small letters, your daughter may be in here.
I knew it.
That was before my pulling days. Though.
I got you.
Did you ever drive that to a toll booth?
Nope. Didn't have to drive it to the toll booth.
All right.
There's my mini rod driver right there. My mini rod ride.
Now, what year was this?
Ooh.
It had to be 2016 or earlier because it had the green
2000,
sled.
Okay.
Yeah.
You look like you could do that again, Vincent.
It was another Hemi I drove.
I think you're ready to drive one of those things again.
When you're ready to drive the King. I could let you put you on the 460, but I'm trying to get a 150-pound driver to drive it.
Yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, you better get on another podcast.
Me neither. That'll give me another 50 pounds.
Yeah, you're on the wrong podcast if you're looking for a driver here.
But now the word's out.
Yeah, there you go.
For 150-pound driver.
Especially after that sticker you had, I'm sure you have a lot of candidates.
Yeah, we know of some light mini rod drivers.
Yeah,
we can hook you up with them.
But then I don't know, when you bolt the set on there, are they going to be underweight yet?
Hey, this is all about growing the sport, and you got a lot of people's attention already. As in, by announcing a light super, then bolting a set on this light. I think a lot of people is going to be thinking about.
A lot of people say I want to drive it, but I said, when we bolt the set on, are you still going to make weight?
I like it.
Oh, didn't think of that. They go.
Yeah.
I love it. So, Esdon, I always like to ask this question. Do you have any standout, memorable travel stories, like something that happened when you're traveling, good or bad, that maybe you wouldn't want to share? Something memorable.
This doesn't include leaving people at rest areas,
right?
Well, that me and Brett Berg were pulling, got to a toll booth, another toll booth deal, and I think he was driving his pickup back then. And we broke the dang U-joint in it. And we had to sit at the toll booth all day on a Sunday to get an auto parts store open to get a U-joint to put back in his truck to go home.
I got you.
And then one time I ended up where I needed a wrench. This is a good one. It needed a wrench because I had something in the rear end had a fix, and I didn't have a socket big enough, and I actually found a socket laying on the side of the road by this. It was a toll booth deal again.
Jesus.
And I put a clamp for a radiator on it, and I got my nut loose. Put it back together and go. But
you found a socket on the side of the road that you needed.
Yeah. Yep. And I got a socket to put a hose clamp around it, and got the piece loose I needed to.
Holy cow.
And, got it put together.
That is unbelievable luck. That would not happen to me.
I mean,
all right.
You can't even draw that up.
No, you can't. Esdon, we've got a little segment on here that we like to call the rapid fire. And it's just a dozen questions that are kind of random and silly, and we just need a quick answer, no explanation needed. Some of them are kind of stupid and silly, but we'll roll right through them here. With Thanksgiving fast approaching, do you feel turkey is an appropriate meat for Thanksgiving, or should the country change it to ham or even steak?
Turkey.
Turkey? Okay. Would you rather climb huge windmills for a living or be an underwater welder?
I would have to say windmill.
What tech official would you select to cook you a Thanksgiving meal?
Rod Main.
How would you define success?
Been able to keep up with you youngsters.
If you had to go back to the first year you started pulling, would you rather take with you all of your knowledge or your modern day equipment with none of the knowledge?
I would have to take my modern day equipment, because
you'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
What do you think is the one store that you've collectively spent the most money at in your entire life?
Hypermax Engineering.
I was going to say I know the answer to that one.
Storefront.
In just one simple sentence, what is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
Don't go out in the yard and try your tractor out.
All right, we're going to need a follow-up on that. What puller could you easiest beat in a go-kart race?
None of them.
Come on, there's got to be one puller that you're a better wheelman than.
Wow.
Tyler.
He's thinking.
Any mini rod driver.
I like it. Would you?
Sorry, Ken Vinny.
Would you rather your hands be half sized or your feet be doubled in size?
Well, I would have to go my hand because I could get it in small places.
I see what you did there. Is it true that you or someone in your family helped invent the Lifesaver candy?
That ain't true.
Okay. If you and one puller would get $100,000 to eat 30 pancakes in an hour, who would you choose to help you?
Terry Benson.
All right, Esdon, we've all seen the news stories of people burning their home down trying to deep fry a Thanksgiving turkey. What puller is most likely to do that this coming Thanksgiving?
Oh.
Whenever Esdon does the exhale, you know something good's coming.
Probably, I'm going to say Mike Beck.
Yeah. I like it. I can see that.
Used to have a few fires.
A few fires. Did any of them get out of control? We're done. We can elaborate now on stories.
Well, never really was out of control, but it was like, wow, you got to quit having fires. Can't have fires.
He was getting with the program. Well, tell us about taking your tractor out in the yard.
Well, back in the day, Jerry Legat, Mr. Hypermax, he always says, don't be going out in the yard and trying to think you're pulling something, because a lot of times you wreck more shit in the yard than you do on the track.
And what happened?
I never really was in the yard and had any oopses yet, because he told me that way early in life. And then there was always a few people had stories of people running through their garage and ending up in hay bales or stuff that happened, and it wasn't good.
You got to learn from their mistakes. You never had any mishaps?
Not in the yard.
So this comes in via phone. I have a question for you. Could you tell us a little bit about Buck, Pennsylvania, with the old Ford hauler?
Well, there was a time I brought it up there at Buck, and I couldn't make it up that one hill, and it was raining out a little bit, so I had to get off to the side of the road, and hopefully my one-wheel truck would, dually, but I had to get it on the gravel a little bit so I could get up there because it was starting to spin. I drove off to the side.
Great intro.
That was the old Dan Oots truck, by the way. I don't know if anybody remembers Dan Oots Thumper. I bought that from him, and it had 150,000 when he sold it to me, and I drove it to like 485,000 miles on that poor
Holy
thing.
Shit.
Wow, that is impressive.
Yeah. That sounds like a new truck to Tyler.
Yeah, seriously. That'd be just in my wheelhouse of affordability at that point. I'd consider buying it.
Yeah, it was them 460 Ford motors. They were good tow motors.
Yeah.
Terry Benson,
but they were good tow motors.
I like it. Terry Benson is wondering, he says, tell them why you would have me help you eat them pancakes.
Because him and Bill Webb, we used to be a partner of mine for a while there, and they're the guys that went on a sub-eating contest at Bowling Green, and Terry ended up eating 3.5 feet, and Bill ended up eating only 3 feet.
Wow.
Damn.
Those are impressive numbers. Now, for people that don't know, when you say sub-eating contest, I can only assume this is after the pull at the Puller's Meal, where they have complimentary sub sandwiches 6 inches at a time, and one of your pals went through
12 inches at a time.
12 inches at a time.
They started with 12 inches.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Them boys can handle some inches, no question.
Yeah.
Esdon, there's been some talk about EsdonLehn.com. Do you know anything about this, or was this done behind the scenes, or can you comment, or do you have an agent we could speak to? This is a real website we've heard, EsdonLehn.com.
Wants to do a website with, to buy, all kinds of T-shirts, everything, paraphernalia, whatever it takes to for the Red Line Fever team, to generate a little more money so we can keep pulling.
It's EsdonLehn.com though.
That's what he claims.
We're gonna be sure to shout that out post show.
Okay.
EsdonLehn.com.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's worth valuable dollars, that web domain. As in another question we had, what is your favorite non-smoke class? And you can't count alcohol, super stocks, or anything. What's your favorite class that's not a tractor class, so to speak, to watch as a fan?
Mini rods, I guess, ain't a tractor class.
I meant from like a
sheet metal tractors.
sheet metal class, correct? Sheet metal class.
Oh, I would have mini rods. It ain't because you three are on there, but I always liked. Back in the Superfly, Wildfly, In and Outlaws, it's just amazing what you guys could do with what you had back in 1,500 pounds, big block Chevy in it.
And then
According to some people, we still need to be running that stuff, but I'm glad we don't.
No.
And then Esdon, to follow up on that, since mini rods are your favorite non-sheet metal class, thanks, Tyler, for that proper wording. I'm having a hard time with my phrases tonight.
I got
If
you.
you had one driver in the mini rod class to drive Red Line Fever to a win, who would you pick?
I'll have to pick Ken Veeney.
Ken
That's
Veeney,
a good answer.
Red Line Fever.
He's the only guy in the mini class with an international grill on the front of his mini rod.
Yeah, that's
why I picked him.
It's a pretty obvious choice. Esdon, I gotta ask, and it was a pretty hot topic on our last show. The topic of too hot of diesel fuel, the manner in which it's tested, the manner in which things are regulated. Give us your thoughts on that whole topic.
Tell you the truth, I really don't even know how they do it, because most of the time they tell me I need to tune up and get with the program. You guys,
this guy's running straight farm fuel.
You're about the lowest one out here, and I'm not even sure what even the numbers are. But they told me that. I said, well, it's hard enough to keep it together, let alone put any groceries in your fuel.
So are you basically saying that you're running a diesel fuel out of the pump? You're not trying to toe the line. You're not trying to get it as hot as what you can.
No, I just run out of the farm fuel that we farm with. Then I put some VP fuel in it, mix it up about 50-50, a little lubrication in just to help start, because the ether today ain't very good. And it's made a world of difference just having a little VP in diesel fuel. And for a super stock, I don't think you need any extra fuel there, because you got all the girlfriends on top to help you out.
So are you the only guy in the super stock class that runs true farm fuel?
Well, it ain't true. It's 50-50, but yeah, that way you can buy, $2.50 farm fuel versus, a barrel of VP is $7.50 for 55 gallons.
And
when you say
smoke,
when you say VP, you're just talking VP diesel fuel?
Yeah, the VP that, alcohol and all the fuel that people run today.
Okay. So is that you basically saying if somebody's getting DQ'd for too hot of fuel, they ought to just back it down and not try to toe the line? Yeah.
I don't know what really happened on the two people that got it, but I know Kent Payne ain't one I'm going to worry about that's toting the line, and if he is, if anybody is, it's up to them, because it's harder on parts if you try to run hot fuel on a diesel. Octane's good for a gas motor.
Right.
Makes sense.
I like it.
So since this heat keeps coming up and Chase keeps going back to this damn toll booth, I was told that her name's Annie, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
This is behind the
All
scenes. Right. You got to pay to hear these stories, fans.
Here's the deal, Esdon.
That's jungle juice.
That's jungle juice.
Now he's calling it jungle juice. I like it.
That's what I mean.
Well, it started out as jungle juice, then it ended up being smoker's punch when we split.
I got you.
See, me and Esdon really hit it off when I was 12.
Yeah, I like it. So here's the thing, Esdon. We've referenced this toll booth thing enough that if you don't tell the story, you're going to have so many damn people coming up to you asking you what it is. Do you want to just get it the hell out of the way?
Or on esdonlehn.com, they could sell shirts that say the king of toll booths.
There you go. It was just a friend that I met at a poll, and she worked at a toll booth, and dated her for a little while, but it just didn't work out.
Did you meet her at the toll booth?
Made her at a toll booth.
Like, were you paying, or was
She
that
chased me down back in my Ford pickup days.
She did?
Yeah, I don't know. She just happened to be getting off work, she said. Maybe she jumped out and chased me down.
Did she hop in the truck and head to the pool?
No, I was going home to fix.
Oh, even better.
Ready.
That's why they call him the king.
Something about a Ford pickup with 400,000 miles is just peak seduction, isn't it?
Yeah. And it was green with John Deere mud flaps on.
Oh
You
shit!
had John Deere mud flaps on?
Yeah. I used to always comment. I said, well, I got to get the John Deere to come and pull with me somehow. So everybody thought I had the old green tarp on back in the day, or one of the first poor man's enclosed trailers. Of course, you had to have a Marigold camper on the front, everybody had back in the day. So nobody knew there was a red tractor in there. So a lot of people came to the pull because they thought it was a John Deere.
So you literally picked up a date at a toll booth.
You're still going back to this toll booth. I love it.
It was on the side of the road after she left the toll booth.
The king of smoke does not come without properly earned stripes.
The trouble is nowadays you guys are so young they don't even have people at the toll booth anymore.
I was going to say, imagine you could have an argument.
Make that better.
Is that so? Esdon, back in the day, was that registered as a, what do they call that these days? Easy Pass?
Way before Easy Pass.
Yeah, back then, Adam, they called that a fast pass.
Oh, it wasn't Fast Pass? I thought Easy Pass. I don't know.
Yes. Oh, I'm speechless for the first time ever in the history of this podcast.
I love it.
I think it's good. It's a good time to transition gears right now. Look.
Shift down or shift up?
I don't know. I've never been to a toll booth. Esdon,
you're shifting up. She's shifting down.
Looking back historically in the sport of pulling, okay, taking a blast in the past or whatever. I'm still not thinking clearly because I'm still the Jungle Juice and toll booth is got me rethinking for a second. But looking back on the history of pulling, what can you say about what it was like to pull with the likes of the Bergs, Danny Dean, Max Simpson, John Klug, the Rops, Rob Russell? What is that? While you're there, you're trying to beat them all, and you're in the middle of it. But looking back now, years away, what do you say about that whole experience running against guys like that?
I mean, back then it was, so nice. Everybody helped each other. Warren Rupp, good friend of mine. I could have won 4 championships in a row, but I decided I had to put 4 turbos on that year, and he just ran consistent all the time. And because I wanted to run the 9,500-pound class, so Warren Rupp come up, and that's how Jungle Juice. I go back then. We in the 80s there. We always said whoever wins the 7,500 Superstock class has got to buy Jungle Juice the next weekend. And Warren Rupp says, God, he's won 2 in a row and he just won 3 in a row. He goes, I'm going to give up. But I'll keep going. He goes, because back then it was in the 80s, it was about $125 to make a batch of Jungle Juice. I don't know what it would cost today.
We're going to have to find out. We're going to have to get the official recipe and recreate that at one event for sure this season.
Hopefully they make 5 Alive and Wine Punch yet.
I'm gonna throw this back to a comment that you made to me a couple years ago, and it has stuck with me probably more than anybody. This is a good one, honestly. It is a very good one. You told me once, somebody walked up and asked me, and they said, what'd you think? Like, the track wasn't as good, blah, 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 blah. And you said, Adam, there are no bad tracks, just bad setups.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Steve Klingenberg told me that many, many years ago. If you know who Steve Klingenberg
Yep.
was, bad habit.
I do.
He always says, "There's no bad tracks; it's just bad setups." And that always stuck in my head.
And me too. The day you said that to me, I've thought about that every time I've gone down the track. Like, what would you done different? Or,
Yeah.
Obviously we've pulled on some shit bags here and there, but somebody has to get down it. Like, that's why, like, you can say what you want, like Nashville, Illinois, the mini rod, people weren't even moving the sled. And I'm sitting back there on last hook, and I just kept telling myself, I got to get down this track because I think I can. I think I'm smart enough to. But it also went back to what you said, like, you got to make it work, like, no matter what.
I mean, back in the day when I pulled, it was always funny how a lot of people, when they got their number at the trailer, they were beat because they didn't understand your number. That's what you normally get. You got to do the best with the piece you get handed to. It's just like living in the world. You got to,
Sure.
just because you don't get the place you want to pull, you just got to do the best and put the best show on that you can with what you got dealt.
Right.
It's just like playing cards.
Absolutely.
It was
A question
awesome
A question I always like to ask everybody is if it's Saturday night at Bowling Green, your last hook in the class, a win is always sweet, but it's always sweeter taking it from that certain special someone. Who's your certain special someone that you love bumping down into second place and taking that first place from?
I'm going to add to this. You can give me a tally on the board, Tyler. In the 1990s, who is your answer to this? And current day, who's your answer to this? 1990s first.
I was back in the day, Rob Russell. Always liked to beat on him, and today it'd be Colin Ross because he's tough to beat.
Oh yeah.
And if you can do it last hook, like I usually say, boy, if I'm second on last hook and I take over the lead, I'm still going to be second if the guy beats me that's behind me.
Right.
It's just, take it. But I always say,
That's right.
when you pull, if you take over the lead when you hook, that's the best you can usually do.
That's right. That's doing
it. It happens that if you win, you win. If you don't, I mean, and enjoy where you ended up, because
that's right.
Day out there for you.
Or just change your setup if you don't like it. The outcome, right?
That's right.
It's honestly not a complicated sport. You just got to be willing to look in the mirror.
And second place ain't always bad.
Yeah.
That's right.
Speaking of Colin Ross,
first place all the time. Back in the day, I've had a lot of first places, but I just had stuff that would run all the time back in the late 90s, where you didn't have to have everything on, say, death. I
like that. Some people say put it on
kill.
Put it on
it's
kill.
death.
You say put it on death. So
he said
speaking of Colin Ross,
I learned that from my buddy Roger Simon. He come up to me and I was at Bowling Green one year. He goes, "Are you coming on kill today or death?" Oh, I thought kill was good enough. He said death, it's gonna die no matter what. And I learned that from my buddy Roger.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
I never heard that before. I always thought kill was bad, but death is worse.
Death is worse. You got one there. When Colin stepped up to run against the alcohol tractors with his diesel, were all the diesel guys in the pits like, hell yeah, let's have the diesel tractor beat the alcohol guys? Or were you guys like, hey, you son of a bitch, we're trying to tell these guys we can't run with them. What the hell are you doing out there?
I mean, the big thing there would be probably if we could all run the same cubic inch, say. It's just like a mini rod. All of a sudden, everybody can run 650s, and you got to run, 575?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that, Esdon.
Yeah, it's kind of the same deal.
That's fair. That's fair.
I got a question here from a fellow puller real quick is, how'd you lose your thumb?
Ooh.
I was cleaning up. It was 1975 when it froze early that year, and our picker was kind of wore out the husking bed, and the husking bed would get plugged up. So I said, wow, I'm not going to sit there and husk all them ears by hand. I got it fed at you, so it would go and put in there. And I turned around to walk away, and it caught my glove. I forgot to bring my hand with. And then it caught my glove. Luckily, I only lost half my thumb.
Oh yeah.
Ouch.
And one final one, guys, and I'll let you guys kind of take over. It's my question I like to ask all the pullers. If you're in charge of the sport of pulling and you're going to try to make it better, whether it's through rules or whatever, what is the one thing that you first do to make our sport better?
Oh, boy. Definitely not add weight to the classes when everybody wants to add weight.
Amen.
We can't just add weight to keep it going, because I figured we shouldn't be pulling mini rods or light supers, and everybody wants to add weight, tires get bigger, better, but where do you draw the line,
Amen to that.
Hell yes. Ooh. We do.
All right,
Chase.
Esdon, we like to do a little bit on here called Two Truths and One Lie, where you give us 3 statements. 2 of them are truths, 1 of them is a lie, and it is up to the 3 of us to try to pick out the lie out of those 3 statements. Are you prepared for such a task?
Kinda.
That's good enough. I'll take that. That's the only choice I got,
Okay, showed 4-H cattle, like skiing, almost was a 4-wheel drive puller.
Ooh.
The lie is almost was a 4-wheel drive puller.
I'm going to say he hates
we'll go round
skiing.
table.
I'm going to say he hates skiing.
I was going to say a guy from the land of 10,000 lakes. I don't think you're in 4-H.
Oh, we've got a
Split
broad
decision
variety.
here. Split decision.
Tell us, sir. Tell us what it is.
Huh?
Wait, me?
Yeah, wait on you.
Tell us.
This is your show, dude.
Oh, I didn't like skiing because they told me to put big, long skis on. And when you don't know how to ski, how do you turn long ones?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
That's a very good
basically, my cousin had a 4-wheel drive truck, Ray Lane, and it was sitting in his yard before I even started pulling. And I go, oh, my cousin's doing 4-wheel drive trucks. That's what I want to do. And then I started pulling farm tractors out of field and stuff. And then I had to scrap that idea because I got smoke in my blood.
Did you ever drive a 4-wheel drive pulling truck?
That's one thing I've never drove.
What about
I
a
drove
diesel?
2-wheel drive truck, the Petros, mini rod, a lot of super stock stuff. Barney Klaus's 3-engine mod, Barney's Rose. I guess a semi and a 4-wheel drive truck. Well, I drove a Pro Stock, Pat Schaefer's Pro Stock, back in the day.
Whose semi did you drive?
Heavy Super. Never drove an alcohol tractor though.
No? Okay.
Larry Peterson seems to think that he talked you out of it. Driving 4-wheelers.
Well, he could have.
Esdon also invented the countershaft transmission that he is making all the money on. So
No, Holden was making them, and I don't know if SES was making them at the time. And I go, God, you're right in my backyard. You need to start making them, And thank God for Larry.
No kidding.
Listen to me.
we've been trying to get him on the show. He'll be a future guest. But
There you go.
yeah,
For sure.
Imagine the stories on that one, right?
There you go. Yeah.
I've been
Larry-
a big component for it. I don't know if we could potentially get both of them on there, but it would be epic if we did have Larry.
It would be a
on
must.
one of these shows.
Oh, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Let's put it this way. If I ever can win another championship and he can win one, we'll be on.
I think that was a jab at Larry.
I think it was a jab.
Shout out to Larry. We love you all.
Love you.
Big fans and some of the best people in all pulling.
Absolutely.
Esdon, take us through, like, so you revealed you have a light super you're bringing out next year. What else is in the upcoming forefront for you? Or did you apply for the Farm Machinery Show? When will we see you pull again?
Well, it probably won't be till summer. I just got a hard time taking my stuff out when it's 20 blowout anymore. I did it so many times, and all that nice stuff they spray on the roads today. God, it's just hard on stuff when I got to leave this far. It's 750 miles to get to Louisville, and you're driving a lot of bad roads and
through Indiana with their DOT.
Well, that ain't so bad, but I've had some close calls on the road when roads got bad, and the guy just got into Illinois, and car was coming down our side of the road, and I go, geez, hold on, kids. And the guy went in the ditch just about 100 feet before we would have ran into him head on, because he went through the median, got through the median. He was coming right down the road, and he lost it again, luckily. Whew. But it was close call.
So we won't see you at the Farm Machinery Show then.
Oh, someday I'm going to make a live appearance, but probably not with my hot rod.
Gotcha.
Or maybe if they let light supers come back in and pull diesel, then I might come back.
Well, so light supers cannot.
Yeah, we were the last person ever to have. I had Tim Giesier's tractor down there. We were the last one to run a diesel tractor and a light super down at Louisville.
Gotcha. So we'll see you back there probably in 2026 with that.
Chase has got some pull. He'll get you in there.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Now we got a little work to do.
I have no doubt that it'll take place. Esdon, the other thing we want to always touch on, who do you want to shout out and thank, and like who's the people? I know you're quick to give credit, but anyone you want to shout out? This has obviously been a phenomenal show, highlighting you and learning a lot of funny and cool and interesting things. Who do you want to make sure you give the credit to in terms of your team and so in your inner circle of the?
First of all, I want to really thank my family, my brothers and sisters. Joe Bergstrom, he's the guy that came around back in the day when I was in my old shop, and he was wondering why. He just got off his second job, or not a second job, but he worked the second shift, and he was always grew up down the road, never knew him. He was like 5 years younger than me. And what are you doing out there so late? And then I said, God, I'm the world's best tacker, but I'm the world's worst welder, because my cousin Tony is a state-of-the-art welder. George Weppel was state-of-the-art. My brother Sherman. I always had good welders, so I always got everything tacked together. And Joel and I said, I always had them weld the stuff together, because I was tacking stuff and getting stuff ready for them at night and stuff. And, it's just Profab, Hypermax, Weimers, just Atlas Tractor. I mean, just all them people that keep thinking they keep sending me parts so I can keeping everybody happy and put on a good show for people. And to all the people I'm forgetting, especially you youngsters, mini rod guys that wanted to talk to me.
Hey, thanks for coming on.
I've always got to talk to you guys, and we've never had any bad words.
Still waiting for that cup to come out and start curling around and getting close and having a good conversation.
Oh, I got a lot of stuff about that. What the heck you curl your cup for, because you never know who's running by you fast, and you wanted to save it.
What would happen right now in the current climate of our society if you gave a 12-year-old kid that you didn't know some jungle juice?
Better keep it quiet.
Put lead in your pencil.
No,
that's right.
You remember this, as you had the big wrench and y'all started with the wrench. That's correct, right?
Yeah. Well, we had to use whatever we thought was clean, and we figured there's enough alcohol in there, it would sanitize it.
I remember talking
I'm on
Dad,
board for that.
Hey, Dad, where's that guy with that wrench again? I want to go.
We don't have to do that again, though.
The first time I ever had alcohol in my life.
You're going to have to send us the recipe for sure. I got one more question here from Fred Laban. Did Leo K and Chris Holdorf really have a $100 bill burning contest in the 80s?
I never was there, but they did. Yes, they
Tell
did.
us what a $100 bill burning contest
back
is.
then, and I go, man, I could have used that to get home. Well, back in the day when I first started,
to the toll booth.
tell you another deal. I go, the ladies, they actually Nola Score, which is Punky Score, Screaming Norwegians mom, she was doing entry back in Wisconsin, and tractor was doing really good. I had enough gas to get there, but I never had enough money to put gas in to get home. And she would say, "Oh, you're trying to get home again?" I go, "Yeah, I got to milk the cows in the morning, but I don't have enough gas, I don't think, to get home." So she'd cash my check all the time. Give me my money so I could get gas in to come home. But that's it. That's what pulling's all about, is
Absolutely.
go and hopefully you can get back and for another day.
And if you can't make it back, maybe you'll find just what you need on the side of the road to get you home.
There you go. Yeah.
At the toll booth.
Wrenches, any type of, tools, put it that way.
I think a good tagline for the episode 30 of No Practice Podcast is big wrenches, jungle juice, toll booths. Tune in if you want to hear about
Toll booth confessions. Toll booth confessions for sure.
Talk about that between us when we see each other this summer.
Oh yeah.
So, hey, one last time. When will we see you again? When is the Light Superstock debut? Do you know yet?
It'll probably be right now at Tullamore or Ellsworth, Wisconsin.
But when you bring it out, it's full intention to go kick alcohol ass, right?
Might be.
No chase.
Maybe even Benson was, maybe even Benson, North Carolina. I'm not even sure what the schedule's like.
But it's full intention. You're going to kick a bunch of alcohol ass with that diesel in the Light Super, right?
I'm not going to kick them. I'm just going to try.
Truck
See
by.
where it goes. I first got to see if it got enough front end weight.
150-pound driver for hire.
Or lighter.
Shout out to the bumper sticker mentioned earlier in the show. As any final words, thank you again. It's been a record show, and you fans have been awesome. Sorry we cannot ask all the questions, but I think we'll have the King of Smoke on again. Any final parting words?
Thank you, kids, for letting an old guy like me come and visit you, and we all can ask anybody any questions, and some we'll answer, some we don't, and it's just the way life is.
Yep.
Well, Esdon, I got one final sign off and a cheers. Here's to sockets and ditches, stirring wrenches, and toll booth bitches, sir. Thanks for coming on.
And you believe the beer money people won't even bring me no beer.
Oh no! What are we doing?
Tons of bitches.
It's like I just could not believe it. They wanted to make sure I was not overindulging when I'm talking to you kids.
Come on! I wanted to see
well,
your face 2 inches from that camera with some crown in your hand.
We were going to do this, but we're on the air. A special shout to the Full Pull and Beer Money staff for making the trip to see Esdon and making all this happen. Esdon told us no 5 times, and we finally said, "Okay, Esdon, we're going to send somebody to you." And then he didn't say no again. So thank you to Doug.
When you laughed a little bit when I told you how do you do a podcast on the rotary phone.
You said you don't know what a rotary phone is. I'm like, all right, well, but Doug, Kenzie, Jason forgot to hit the unmute button, but thank you all for making this all happen. For all the pulling fans across the world, again, it's a record show, and it's very deserving for a guy like Esdon Lehn. So, Esdon,
I was kind of scared to come on because I wasn't sure how bad you'd drill me.
It wasn't that bad though, right?
I thought this was excellent.
Well, yeah, it was good.
It's the same experience. It's the same experience every time. Nobody wants to get on. They get done like, oh wow, that's awesome. Can we do it again? So maybe you have 1 year to get the Light Super going and have other travel stories that toll booths are still alive in 2025.
Well, when him and Larry Peterson win championships next year, I guess we're going to have him on again. So
hell yeah, we'll have them both on.
Or Lisa, either one.
Or Lisa. Hey,
we're
going there. She's going to have a new truck out. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Esdon, thank you. You're a legend. We love you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and happy holidays to all your family. And tell Jason he can exit you from the show now.
Well, thank you much. You guys have good turkey and everything else. And all the youngsters that are out there today, they all think I can make it 50 years of pulling. So I don't know. I still got 3 more years to make. 2 more years to make.
Let's go.
I think you're still
problem.
So I'm going to do that for all the youngsters out there.
I know. Esdon, thank you very much, brother.
Thank you. Yep.
See you, man.
Have a good night.
That was amazing.
That was cool.
Holy cow, the king of smoke. We could have made the show 5 hours tonight, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I really didn't take him for a turkey preference over ham or steak. That was shocking.
We still had some more time. I had some more questions rolling in on my phone here from some other pullers, and these could probably be epic stories that, like, at least we got out of him what we did. That was pretty damn funny there for a little bit. So
we could have had hundreds, like fans. We have hundreds of questions, literally, and we will do this again with him. And again, thanks to the crew that went out there to make all this facilitate to happen. And the King of Smoke has made his debut.
Yeah, that was awesome because he wasn't coming on. He really wasn't. And good. Thanks for getting, because we all know the character that is Esdon running around there, and I really enjoy hearing his stories and just being in his presence because he's been doing it a long damn time. And like, there's certain things that he said, which I found came from other pullers that stuck in my mind, and that was a really cool interview. That was really good.
Yeah.
Guys.
But again, this all happens because of the fans. And I know we joke, like, we cut up a lot, but we have an audience that grows every week. And if there was a couple hundred people watching, we probably wouldn't invest to go get a guy like Esdon Lehn on. But when there's 20-some thousand watching every show, we're going to keep doing what we can to bring you your the entertainment. And like, because Esdon Lehn is a big deal, but there are so many Esdon Lehns, and there's so many others out there that we have to pull their teeth to try to get them on here. And if it takes us sending people to go to their shop to do that, we're going to do it because, hey, the guy himself actually enjoyed it once it was there, right?
Sure, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would be, a little hesitant to just join 3 Yahoos on here, but I feel like we didn't grill him too hard, as he said. So,
well, they probably read pulloff.com too, so that could be part of the problem.
Well,
Right.
Speaking of the hater mail, we read the one comment, and that went a little bit longer than what we thought it was going to go, and we didn't want to keep Esdon, the King of Smoke, waiting. But we did actually have 2 calls that people had called and left as voicemails. We're not going to go to them tonight because we're already at 2 hours and 18 minutes. And when we started this, we said we weren't going to go over an hour, and here we are over 2 hours. But just so you know, those calls did not fall on deaf ears. We've got them waiting on the sideline. We will be going to them at some point. And if you do want to call throughout the week and leave us a voicemail, just give us a call at 302-272-5360. We do listen to those. We'll play them on the show on occasion, and call us up anytime, any day. It doesn't have to be during a show at all. And give us your comments, and it can be good or bad. Tell us we suck. Tell us you'd enjoyed it. We really don't care. We can handle that, can't we, gentlemen?
And that gentleman we were hitting hard on earlier, we appreciate his feedback. I mean that sincerely, but
Everybody cares, really, right?
Yeah. We're not here to be a bunch of yes men and just have everybody say like, oh, yeah, you're right, because sometimes we are wrong and we need to be told we're wrong.
Yeah, we're wrong a lot.
Every bit of input definitely goes. I think, in my mind, every little bit of input I hear, I definitely always have an open mind to what people say. And I truly believe that any person watching, listening, or any part of the show just wants to make the sport better is all.
Yeah. 100%. And these Esdon Lehn has been we have a lot of requests, but a lot of people, we've been working on Esdon. He'll tell you we probably didn't should have asked him, but this has been like months in the works. Is what do we got to do to get you on here? And we got him on here. So whenever you have requests, just keep sending us messages, and we
see them.
But we see them. So
yeah, we definitely see them in the messages. We play them. We have a little group chat between the 3 of us. We get every single message. We listen to every one of them. We read them. So keep them rolling in. 302-272-5360. You can call or text. I mean, either one. We're definitely listening. And
we especially read them whenever they say Tyler will not read this.
Yeah. It's similar and true to like Esdon's statement. If you tell me I can't do something or won't do something, I may be inclined to just go ahead and do it. So
I think I think somebody should label that as a disease, because I'm not good at it, but I'm very guilty of that too. So maybe someone can patent a disease for that, because that is a true disease when someone says you can't do something.
It's called being a stubborn ass, is what it is. We all have it.
Yeah. Or it's called being a tractor puller.
Yeah, one of those two.
Living life.
Well,
Anyway,
gentlemen,
we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Not sure where we're going with it. That's PRI week. Maybe depending on our schedules, we can probably do some fun stuff around that show or whatnot. But stay tuned. In the meantime, gentlemen, I'm going to be nice to y'all. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you two and the No Practice podcast and all of our fans.
Stay magical.
Everyone enjoy this week with their families. We'll be back talking some more nonsense in a couple of weeks. So in the meantime, cheers, Esdon Lehn. Cheers to everyone. Happy holidays. We'll see you soon.
cheers.
Thanks.
Cheers.
To Full Pull Picks. Are you ready to take your passion for tractor pulling to the next level? Let's dive into our new exciting game options. First up, we have Classic Picks. To get started, choose a Classic Picks contest. Now, it's time to pick your champions. Pick 2 vehicles that you believe will end in the top 3. Join the contest, and if both of your selections finish in the top 3 for distance points, fantastic prizes will be awarded. Now, our second game, Head-to-Head. In this thrilling challenge, select one competitor from each head-to-head group. Your goal? Predict which of the picks will pull the furthest distance within their respective group. If both of your head-to-head selections rack up the longest distances, you guessed it, prizes will be awarded. So, are you ready to play? Join us at Full Pull Picks and turn your predictions into prizes. The thrill of competition awaits. Let's see who can pull the furthest.
Wrap.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the No Practice Podcast.
Have a good one. Bye.
Stay tuned for the next episode, where we guarantee there still won't be any practice. Bye-bye.